Welcome to the Past in Pictures channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Germany's sealing of the Warsaw Ghetto in 1940 led to severe shortages and harsh conditions for thousands of confined Jews, leaving children like the boy described living abandoned on the streets. This situation fueled later uprisings and deeply marked Holocaust memory. The slogan, "Our Pussy's Our Choice," printed on the shirt worn by Cameron Diaz in the 1990s, points to the rise of third-wave feminism, strongly marked by the fight for women's rights, a movement that led to public debate and changes in social policy in the United States. Ichiro Naimura stands beside a Mitsubishi A6M0, holding a portrait of himself made during World War II, a time when Japanese pilots carried out missions with no return, a fact that shaped the conflict and left lasting human and emotional consequences. The tradition of the Wob people in Ivory Coast took shape in the context of European colonization in the early 20th century, when masks like this were used in rituals to protect villages, helping preserve cultural practices despite colonial pressure. During the Gulf War in 1991, people in Ramat Gan, Israel, were told to use protective masks out of fear of toxic agent attacks after Iraqi missiles hit Israeli cities, leading to emergency civil defense measures in homes across the country. The white female sign displayed on the door of a women's jail in New Orleans in 1965 reveals the systematic enforcement of racial segregation laws in the United States, maintaining physical and legal divisions that fed institutional inequality for decades. Elle Macpherson gained international fame as a model during the fashion industry boom of the 1980s, a period marked by the rise of supermodels, which fueled multi-million-dollar ad campaigns and expanded the global reach of fashion magazines. During the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan between 1979 and 1989, the Mujahideen faced air attacks using low-altitude drop devices designed to protect Soviet aircraft, which caused severe damage to targeted areas. The use of lip plates among women of the Mursi tribe in southern Ethiopia is an ancestral custom tied to female rites of passage, especially the transition to adulthood, reinforcing social and marriage recognition within the community. When East German soldiers began building the Berlin Wall in 1961, the city became a symbol of Cold War ideological division, separating families and restricting movement between East and West, leading to countless attempts to cross under extreme conditions. In 1940, the Windmill Theatre in London kept its doors open during the height of the Blitz air raids, even under constant bombing threat, and dancers even performed wearing gas masks, showing English cultural resilience during the conflict and strengthening local community spirit. When a series of major fires hit neighborhoods like Brooklyn Heights in 1980, firefighters faced extreme challenges, including equipment freezing because of New York's harsh winter, which hindered emergency response and led to reviews of protocols for severe conditions. A circus act showing an elephant balancing on its front legs in 1920 reflects the peak popularity of animal shows in that era, which later fueled debates about animal welfare and led years afterward to restrictive laws on using animals in circuses. Gerald P. Carr, commander of the Skylab 4 mission in 1974, demonstrates weightlessness by lifting pilot William R. Pogue with just one finger, something only possible off Earth, underscoring the importance of NASA research on how microgravity affects the human body. The 1937 Hindenburg incident marked the end of large passenger airships, leading to a lasting shift in international air travel because it shattered global trust in hydrogen-filled aircraft. The use of protective masks by police and dogs in Poland in the 1930s reflects growing tension in Europe ahead of World War II, when people feared toxic agents, leading to preventive measures and changes in security force training. Richard Nixon made his first visit to South Vietnam as president on July 30, 1969, meeting troops of the 1st Infantry Division in Dien, near Saigon during the Vietnam War, marking the start of the Vietnamization policy that accelerated the withdrawal of United States forces. A film icon during World War II, Rita Hayworth stood out around 1942 as she starred in major Hollywood productions, reinforcing women as symbols of strength and glamour and influencing women's participation in the entertainment industry. With improvised barricades appearing in Copenhagen streets, the Danish general strike of June 30, 1944, highlighted growing resistance against German occupation, pressuring German command and leading to harsher responses in the country. After the 1971 power change led by Idi Amin, Uganda lived under a centralized government marked by forced loyalty, as shown by the official oath to the new president. This concentration of power resulted in exile and prolonged political instability. As part of American preparations before entering World War II, on January 21, 1941, the United States Army ran an air defense test at the Empire State Building, placing observers to spot enemy aircraft and report to command centers, strengthening civilian surveillance strategies. The curious London record titled Back Massage from 1950 points to post-war Britain, when circuses and traveling shows tried to entertain people shaped by rationing and rebuilding, bringing a sense of lightness back to everyday life after World War II. In 1941, slogans like "Buy defense bonds and stamps now" filled public spaces in the United States, reflecting national mobilization after the country entered World War II, boosting war funding and strengthening civilian patriotic engagement. With an improvised opening created next to the Reichstag, one day after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, East and West Germans could reunite after decades of Cold War separation, driving German reunification and the end of Europe's division. Fencing practice at the Tver Cavalry School in 1905 reflects the Imperial Russian Army's emphasis on physical preparation and military discipline during the 1905 Russian Revolution, an event that triggered armed forces reforms and increased pressure to modernize soldier training. The famous Soviet Il-2 attack aircraft, vital in World War II for its ground attack role, collided with a special vehicle based on the Gaz AA truck at an airfield, showing the frequent logistical problems the Soviets faced, which caused operational delays that mattered for troop advances. The reference to the Tupolev Tu-2 and a battery of 88 PPSH-41 submachine guns points to Soviet experiments during World War II, when advances in aerial armaments sought air superiority, resulting in defensive saturation tactics against enemy aircraft. Royal Air Force pilots getting haircuts near aircraft in 1942 reflects routine during World War II after the Battle of Britain had forced intense schedules on airmen, leading to everyday practices adapted to the urgency of air combat. Linda Carter gained international fame in 1975 by playing Wonder Woman on television, becoming a female pop culture icon by 1978, which boosted women's leading roles in series and expanded their representation in American media. Boeing's ingenious 1944 solution of building a fake city on its factory roof to conceal and protect aircraft production shows the direct impact of the threat of Japanese air attacks in World War II, leading to innovative urban-style camouflage tactics. The construction of the Golden Gate Bridge in 1935 overcame enormous engineering challenges and established San Francisco as a symbol of innovation in the United States, providing a strategic road route and triggering rapid urban and economic growth in the region. The area known as Tokyo's Red Light District was well known in the 1970s for nightlife and for the visible presence of influential street groups, which contributed to a long-lasting stigma around tattoos in Japan. The earthquake that struck San Francisco in 1906 severely damaged urban infrastructure, especially around California Street and Sansom Street, harming buildings and entire blocks. An immediate result was the departure of thousands of residents and the city's rapid rebuilding. In London in 1935, police used street gas-powered signaling devices during heavy fog, a direct response to intense fogs driven by industrial pollution, making traffic control safer and reducing frequent accidents in that period. Prohibition in the United States, in effect from 1920 to 1933, led to the spread of so-called speakeasies, informal places that arose in response to the alcohol ban, fueling underground networks and deeply changing American urban culture in that turbulent period. The development of German cars with spring wheels in 1917 reflected a push for innovation during World War I when resources were scarce. The solution helped vehicles handle rough terrain, influencing wartime vehicle technology and encouraging advances in military transport. Portraying a First Nations couple in Canada in 1886, this record aligns with the intensification of Canadian government assimilation policies, such as the Indian Act, which restricted traditions and imposed residential schools, resulting in cultural loss and trauma for later generations. The depiction of a Navajo person wearing the Hashabad mask in 1905 reflects the preservation of spiritual rituals during a time when policies pushed indigenous peoples in the United States toward assimilation, later fueling resistance to keep cultural traditions alive. Between 1884 and 1885, as settler expansion pressed the American West, Shoshone peoples faced restricted territory through government-forced reservation policies, resulting in the loss of much of their ancestral land and major impacts on traditional ways of life. Nenet's families living on the Brikhovsky Islands in 1912 faced pressure from Russian expansion into their traditional lands, a direct result of stronger imperial control, which gradually changed their way of life and reduced regional indigenous autonomy. In England in 1932, contests like ankle judging in Kent reveal the limited role assigned to women in the interwar years, when narrow beauty standards were promoted in public events, reinforcing stereotypes that restricted women's rights for decades. The phrase, "when Dad tried doing Mom's work for a weekend 1956, reflects the rigid gender roles common in the United States in the 1950s. A context shaped by women returning to the home after World War II, which reinforced the housewife ideal and deepened women's economic dependence. Looking back in 1920s Atlantic City, women wear dresses typical of the 1890s, a gesture that highlights generational contrast after World War I, when freedom in women's clothing became a milestone of women's emancipation. After the United Kingdom created the National Health Service in 1948, programs like regular nurse visits to Scottish villages became common, ensuring child checkups and improving public health measures, especially in rural and isolated areas. Water hauling in Texas in 1905, done with animals and wagons as described, shows the lack of water infrastructure typical of the United States Southwest and Old Mexico, later driving investment in irrigation systems and reservoirs. The introduction of the microwave oven by the Tappan Company in 1955 marked the arrival of this revolutionary technology in the home, helping modernize American kitchens and making family meal preparation faster and more convenient. Key-Doozle changed American retail when it opened as the first fully automated store in 1949, using glass compartments and mechanical systems to replace clerks, making shopping easier and encouraging future retail technology innovations. The Aerocar, highlighted in 1966 for its foldable wings and ability to both fly and drive, exemplifies the wave of technological innovation fueled by the space race, directly influencing automotive projects by encouraging research into hybrid, multifunction vehicles. With General Motors developing MoLab in 1965, The United States pursued advances in lunar vehicles during the space race, leading to key tests for Apollo program exploration modules that enabled geological work directly on the moon's surface. David Bowie appears in front of a computer in 1987, a period marked by the rise of personal computers driven by the 1981 release of the IBM PC. This technological shift enabled new ways to create and distribute music, connecting artists to a global audience. Attention on William James Sidis, considered one of the 20th century's greatest intellectual prodigies, began in childhood when he read the New York Times at just 18 months old, a rare ability showing how New York's educational environment enabled early exposure of young talent, fueling debates about gifted education and the need for specific policies. The Graf Zeppelin airship flying over Gran Via in Madrid in 1930 highlighted the peak of lighter-than-air technology in international aviation, reflecting European confidence in air navigation before commercial airplanes became widespread. The event drew crowds and reinforced the link between innovation and urban growth. Intense silver mining at the Comstock Lode in Virginia City between 1867 and 1888 drove economic development in the American West, promoting rapid urban growth and encouraging railroad construction to move ore from local mines. The Venice Beach scene in the late 1970s, with kids balancing on roller skates on concrete, reflects the roller skating boom driven by the sport's popularity in that decade, directly influencing public space design and the creation of dedicated skating areas. In Fort Greene Park in Brooklyn, Jamie Swan is captured jumping off a small stone wall in 1886, a year when the park was strengthening its role as a public space after the American Civil War, promoting recreation and social mixing as New York's urban planning expanded. The rise of cheerleaders in high schools in the early 20th century brought a new element to American school life, integrating sports into daily education, strengthening support culture for athletic events, and boosting community spirit in institutions. At the Tupperware parties that defined the 1950s, housewives gathered to see and buy new plastic containers, a phenomenon driven by post-war America and expanding home consumption, strengthening networks of women entrepreneurs in residential neighborhoods. As the second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Brigham Young founded Salt Lake City and became Utah's first governor, marking the start of Mormon settlement in the region in 1847, which led to rapid local population growth. The famous "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada" sign became a tourism icon after it was installed in 1959, and it grew even more famous in the 1990s with the rise of mega resorts and casinos, helping Las Vegas establish itself as the world capital of entertainment. When King Hussein of Jordan stood among his troops on March 1, 1957, he was strengthening his authority after a failed military coup attempt threatened his monarchy, leading to armed forces reorganization and stronger royal control over the country. When Anne Margaret posed with a leopard cub in the 1960s, Hollywood was in an era of celebrity eccentricity and pop culture, pushing stars beyond film and encouraging exotic animal conservation campaigns through entertainment. The release of the Shogun miniseries in 1980 was a key moment in popularizing Japanese culture in the West, as the Richard Chamberlain and Yoko Shimada production introduced elements of samurai tradition to mass audiences, driving greater interest in Eastern stories. Alain Delon was in Beijing in 1987, when China was opening to the West under Deng Xiaoping's reforms that began in 1978, turning the country into a global economic power and enabling direct cultural contacts that influence city habits and local lifestyle. Natalie Wood established her career during Hollywood's golden age, in a time marked by changing social customs and the rise of film as mass entertainment, influences that carried into bold productions and new themes in the 1960s, expanding women's roles on screen. Stephen King posed in November 1982 in front of the ornate gate of his new Victorian home, decorated with bat figures, signaling his rising fame at the height of that decade's pop culture, which allowed him to shape contemporary literature and suspense in the United States. Acclaimed British actor David Niven appears in a traditional Venetian water taxi, a form of transportation that has symbolized the city since the 19th century, when expanding international tourism strengthened Venice as a European cultural icon and boosted its local economy. As dental care became more common in the 20th century, devices like ultraviolet therapy lamps were used to speed up tooth whitening procedures, promoting less invasive treatments and advancing cosmetic dentistry and clinical efficiency. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle, alongside his dog Luke in 1919, was at the height of his career as one of the leading stars of American silent film, a period marked by the popularity of black and white movies that transformed entertainment and established Hollywood as the world center of cinema. A Portrait of Kurt Cobain in 1970 marks the beginning of a path that would influence global music, especially in the 1990s, when Nirvana became a symbol of the grunge generation, expanding alternative rock and criticizing the dominant consumer culture. When Rick Astley met Princess Diana in 1988, his hit "Never Gonna Give You Up" was already topping the charts, representing global British pop success in the Thatcher era. That prestige brought young artists into contact with royalty and strengthened the United Kingdom's cultural influence. Madonna solidified her international career in 1984 with the release of Like a Virgin, an album that directly shaped pop culture and redefined fashion and behavior, driving discussions about sexuality and women's empowerment at the time. Claudia Cardinali gained international recognition through classics like The Leopard, released in 1963 during the peak of Italian cinema, helping establish Italy as a cultural reference and encouraging other European actors to move into global productions in the next decade. Salma Hayek gained international recognition in 1995 with the release of Desperado, becoming one of the first Mexican actresses to break through in Hollywood at that time, opening the door to greater Latino representation in major American productions. Melissa Joan Hart and her sister Emily Hart were at the height of youth stardom in 1999, when shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch drew large audiences on American television, cementing teen sitcom culture and boosting youth-focused entertainment markets. George Harrison and Pattie Boyd, photographed in 1964, stand out during the Beatles' rapid rise, a phenomenon that reshaped global popular music. Beatlemania raised George to global idol status and influenced youth fashion and behavior for decades. Hysteria around Elvis Presley reached new levels in the United States, and a defining episode took place at the Chicago Amphitheater in 1957, when a fan had to be helped after collapsing from the star's presence, signaling the start of mass music idol culture. Joan Collins stood out on the set of Land of the Pharaohs in 1955, a time marked by the peak of big Hollywood productions known as historical epics, directly influencing investment in huge sets and elaborate costumes and changing commercial film standards. While handling the camera on the set of Pretty Woman in 1990, Julia Roberts interacts with Gary Marshall, the director behind the film's success, which reshaped romantic comedies of the time and established Roberts as a global star, helping spark a new wave of female leading power in Hollywood. Building her popularity in the 1980s, Tiffany Amber Thiessen became a youth icon shortly before debuting on Saved by the Bell in 1989, a series that shaped the end of the decade by influencing fashion, style, and teen television pop culture in the United States. In 1995, the year Kate Winslet gained international attention with Sense and Sensibility, and Damon Albarn helped lead Britpop with Blur, the United Kingdom was at a 1990s cultural peak, boosting global export of British film and music. The presence of Armenian fighters in Nagorno-Karabakh reflects disputes that intensified after the collapse of the Soviet Union, a turning point that fueled conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, resulting in waves of displacement and lasting ethnic tensions in the region. Brigitte Bardot's rise as a style icon in the 1960s reflected changing European social norms after the prior decade's cultural explosion, shaping a new attitude in French cinema whose boldness inspired later generations seeking individual freedom. The spread of places with signs like Institute of Oral Love in the United States in the 1970s shows the immediate impact of the sexual revolution and greater permissiveness around nightlife, boosting local economies and changing the urban landscape of major cities. Ava Gardner, remembered as Kitty Collins in the 1946 film The Killers, cemented the femme fatale stereotype in American film noir, influencing how women were portrayed in Hollywood and paving the way for more complex female characters in later decades. A New York Tribune publication on March 12, 1916, shows Thomas A. Edison at his Glenmont home in New Jersey, already known for inventions like the electric light bulb, patented in 1879, which helped drive home electrification in the United States.